So what has this campaign told us about who we are? We're joined now by the novelist and commentator Will Self, who is supporting Remain, and supporting the Leave campaign, the crime writer and journalist Dreda Mitchell. Dreda Mitchell, you've taken a very interesting position, certainly not that of UKIP, but I'm wondering what you feel this whole campaign has told us about ourselves. Are we as nasty as some of the campaign has been?
I think the tone has not been there what it should be, and I myself found that very difficult to deal with. So I actually had to turn the telly off, and I did my own research. But I tell you what, I think it really does show how much of a divided Britain we're living in. There's always had that question, are we in or out? Is it better for Britain? But which Britain are you talking about? And I think in the last couple of weeks, that working class voice, particularly outside of London, has really come to the fore. And it's been a voice of dissatisfaction.
Well, is it the elite against the dispossessed and alienated?
No, I think it's a question of feelings and character. I don't think it necessarily cuts across economic grounds, John. I think Auden had it right. The best lack all conviction, while the worst, saving you, Dreda, are carried away by a passionate intensity. The case for remaining has never been a heart case, it's a head case.
But I was in South Shields last night, and there were a lot of people who were voting, Leave, because they hate the government, and they feel the government hasn't delivered for them. And this is their chance to kick them in the teeth.
Absolutely, but at the same time, the Remain keep telling us how successful it has been in the EU. If it's such a success for working people, why are they not feeling so great? Why is it people who are at the lower end of the pay spectrum are the ones feeling it the most? So I think as well as a kick for the Tories, I think it's also a kick against the EU, quite rightly.
I think it's deeply worrying that people who I've spoken to who are voting to leave are saying that they just want the snow globe shaken up. And that's the kind of mentality that leads to extremism. It's a populist desire for people to feel that they're doing something. Here they see an opportunity to kick
But Will, I'm interested. Are you talking about people that you've spoken to in wide sections of society, outside of London and the South?
Yeah.
Places like Stoke, places like Hull, places like Sheffield. Have you been to hard working class communities and asked that kind of question?
Well, the last person I spoke to was a builder in Orkney. So you can't get further outside London and still be in Britain than
I think you need to go. I was in Stoke about 5 years ago, and I have to say I was very shocked at how very different it was from London. So for me, the EU referendum is about the type of Britain we all want to live in. We all want to live in, and we should all have an opportunity to do that.
But could I introduce another thing? I mean, are you partly opposed because you'd like a Europe that did work for working people, but that you actually would like to be in a Europe that worked, but not this one?
Everyone keeps saying Europe. We've got to be really clear. We're talking about the EU. We're talking about an organisation. We will still be within Europe. That is without a doubt. What we want is to have democracy. We don't have complete democratic control.
Well, you should have engaged more with your democratic process heretofore. Our governments are elected out of apathy. It's ridiculous people in the Brexit campaign using this as some kind of idea to re-actualise democracy. Why weren't you involved democratically before?
I have been. I remember...
No, all those people who are saying...
Will and John, I remember taking my vote in 1987 for the very first time. So my vote is really key and important to me. And I feel passionate that democracy should rest in Britain. When I hear an organisation outside of Britain actually has some sense of controlling that, that can't be right. I don't feel I'm living in a complete democracy.
Let's ask Will a pretty key question. Supposing you win on Friday, will you be saying to yourself, I tell you something, we may have scraped away with our lives this time, we've got to do better for the people who get nothing out of this?
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I said...
But you're not going to, are you?
No, but the Remain vote is head, not heart. Nobody's in the Remain side, except people who are being fatuous, are trying to pretend that everything in the garden is rosy, either domestically or internationally.
Have you heard any of their leaders actually espousing, what I'm going to do is to put Britain in the heart of Europe, to change it for the better?
No,
never.
Because the campaign has been conducted on both sides hypocritically. So it's been conducted utterly hypocritically. Now, I say to you, Dreda, not all Brexiters are racists, but almost all...
I like to think not.
But almost all... Just because you're black doesn't mean you can't be a racist. But,
whoa!
I can assure
hang on a
you,
minute. I'm not a racist, and I've been very, very clear that I'm not part of the official
Will you let me finish
campaign.
the sentence?
I'm a voter
Will you let me
who's voting
finish
about
the
democracy.
sentence? Will you let me finish the sentence? Not all Brexiters are racists. but almost
Most aren't.
Will you let me
Most
finish?
aren't.
Will
And I
you
have
let-
to say that.
Will you
I
let,
have to say
will
that.
you let me finish? But almost all racists will be voting for Brexit. So those are your fellow travellers. Enjoy the ride.
You could say
enjoy the ride.
By the
Some,
same token,
some.
Will, you could say all the
Absolutely.
elite will be voting to remain.
Exactly. And aren't you part of the elite, Will? As well?
try to find-
the metropolitan
This
elite,
is-
Will.
this
What
is-
do you know about people outside of London?
listen,
What
it's
do you know about those lives?
This is about geopolitical issues as much as anything else. We live in a febrile and fissiparous world. This is about trying to preserve what stability we have. Rest assured.
Stability.
Do you
What
think you have the
stability?
same vision of Britain? It seems to me you're talking about two completely different countries. She's talking about
Absolutely.
Stoke. I was talking about South Shields. You're talking about West Hampstead.
And isn't that the issue?
Steady on, John. That's a low blow. I mean, I would love it if the grateful
I'm sure
nation
there
would
are racists
relocate
as
me
well,
to Hampstead,
Will.
but I'm currently living in South London.
I think, can I just interject, because to pick up on you talking about racism, this is what I hear from lots of people who I know who are white, working class. I grew up in East End of London, are still part of that community. What they say is when they talk about particular issues, the reason they won't speak out is they're frightened of people like Will calling them a racist. They should have the space publicly to voice
All right,
their
let's
concerns.
just unbolt
So
it.
if
Do
you
you
go to
think-
those communities,
do you
you should
think-
engage with them, Will,
do you-
and start
Dreda,
talking to them about their
you know,
concerns.
I've been engaging with communities and being a political commentator and thinking about this stuff for a long time. I have one question for you. Do you
Gonna have to be quick.
Do you think that Nigel Farage's campaign has blown the dog whistle of racism?
Nigel Farage is not part of the
Right.
official
You-
Leave campaign, and I have
Doesn't matter.
publicly
He's doing-
chastised
On that
Farage
note,
myself.
He's
sadly,
the
sadly,
guy
we
you're
must
following.
pause on Nigel Farage. Thank you very much indeed, both of you, Dreda and Will.